Hello and welcome back to 209 Prep Sports Media. Today we'll have guest Greg Marsh in the studio to discuss his experiences in the 209 with multiple sports and get a little background on Greg. So Greg and I have coached against each other for the last few years. He's the head baseball coach at Franklin, as well as the offensive coordinator of the JV football team, which is a new experience for him. So welcome, Greg. So with all that being said, kind of give us an idea of your background in Stockton and and up to today, I guess.
Okay, hi guys. Thanks for having me. So I graduated Franklin in '82. I went and played at Delta for a season. Went to a school called Howard College in Big Spring, Texas. I played there, and then after that. I signed with the Dodgers for a couple of months. Was out in an instructional league in Vero Beach. Came back home, lived life, worked, family. And in 2000, I got offered to coach at my old school by the coach back then, Dave Brandt. And I was there, became the varsity coach, left for a little bit, went to McNair when they opened up, Brookside Christian for 3 years, and then they asked me to come back to Franklin to coach football. And then when the football season ended, and they asked me to coach baseball again. So I've been back for this will be my 6th year back coaching.
Awesome. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, and I just got to throw this in there too. You and I grew up in the same neighborhood, East Side Pride.
That's right.
But
Ardell Street.
It's a real treat to have you here.
Thank you.
A chance to talk about some old times a little bit, but it really does bring back some memories because we had me not being one of them, but we had some tremendous athletes come out of East Stockton that went on to do great things. And I know, at some point during today's conversation, we'll talk about that, but welcome in. We're excited to have you here. I guess maybe one of the first questions that we have for you is, you're at Franklin High School, which I think we didn't get to play last year. The season was avoided, but the year before that, you took the baseball team to the playoffs for the first time in a really long time.
Yeah,
so,
2017.
Yeah, so maybe we'll start there and chip away at it, but maybe kind of talk to us a little bit about that experience and how the players work to get you to that point.
Okay, yeah, I came back to a program that had lost, I think, the last 21 games in a row. That was in 2014. So 2015, we had some issues. Came back in a couple of years of rebuilding. We missed the playoffs by one game the first year back. Did a little rebuild. Brought some guys up, some young guys. It's 2017. That was the first year we made the playoffs since the Eddie Guardado era, 1989. So
that's a long span.
It was a long
span.
Long span. So we went down. We played Pittman. We played well. We actually had the lead on them. Good program. So they came back and beat us. Following year, pretty much same group with a couple of guys coming up. We had a really good season against better opponents that year. We went and played in the playoffs that year. We played Franklin Elk Grove, who was a top team in the area. And again, we played them well. I think it was 1-0 in the 6th inning, and then the wheels came off. My catcher got hurt, and so we had to adjust. And my pitcher was worn out, and we just a bunch of different. So, anyways, 2017, 18, 19, we missed the playoffs again by one game, and then of course last year was just canceled out for everybody. So it was a good experience. It was a good experience for the community. Got a lot of support around Stockton. There's a lot of Franklin alumni and just people who we were kind of a feel-good story because the program had been down for a while.
Yeah.
And
for sure.
Yeah. So
we started this whole, podcast with the kind of, and it's, that story is kind of the reason we started this, really for us to share experiences, share opportunities, let these kids know that, some of the things that are going on in the area that kind of fly under the radar. You, like I said, you and I have coached against each other for quite a while, and I've been pretty impressed with the way you handle things and things like that. We jumped, I kind of ambushed you, introducing you right away. We usually kind of talk about things, but let's kind of backtrack a little bit and talk about how this whole COVID thing in the last year, because it's it's kind of the ruler right now in the prep athlete or the prep sports arena. So kind of talk about how it's affecting you guys and what's how you guys are dealing with that.
Okay, well, like everybody else, our baseball season was cut really short last year, which it was tough for the kids, especially the seniors. As far as the summer goes, there wasn't any baseball going on. You had to, it was all hit and miss out of other states, so. A lot of kids just didn't play any sports, and some of the kids recently have, as far as baseball goes, they've been playing. There's tournaments here and there. For football season and football starting late here.
Yeah.
Obviously, that. And, it's we have strict guidelines. We can't, right now everything is conditioning. We can't, we could throw the ball around here at some point, but right now we're just focusing on the conditioning and getting our players ready that way. We have to, take their temperature, go through the questions and all that. And we have to, clean everything out. Each rep somebody does, they have to clean their weight area where they're working out.
Yeah.
So we're, the coaches are. It's kind of monitoring everything and just trying to stay within the guidelines so we can have a season. We don't want the section to just shut everybody down, and you hope you're not the cause of that because you'd be scorned, man, if you Franklin, those guys,
you don't want to be the Miami Marlins.
You don't want to be the Marlins or the Cardinals, man. You want to be that, so you don't want to be that group that ruins it for everybody. And these kids, again, you have seniors, you have kids who, they love football. They want to play. So you want to make sure you follow the guidelines and so that way we can all play.
Yeah, we are doing the same thing. We're out here in Linden. We kind of doing the same thing. It's, we got it. You do your reps and then we spray them down and wipe them down. And the one thing I've noticed is the appreciation I think that the kids now have, for what their opportunities were. I think they always took them for granted a little bit. So are you guys experiencing that kind of as well?
Yeah, especially the kids from the other sports because they missed out last year. Some of them did anyway. But, also having coaches out there, we've had a lot of turnover in the football program. Not in the baseball program. We've been good. The football program has had a lot of turnover. There's been 4 coaches basically in 4 years. And so you have seniors who, so they appreciate guys or coaches who are there every day. Okay. And, because I'm the baseball coach, they know who I am.
Yeah.
So they know I've been there and I'll be there tomorrow. And that is, they appreciate that.
Sure.
There's
no question.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Most people appreciate what you're doing for their kids. You're there for their kids while they're at work or home. They know that they have a coach there who's going to be there every day. And I think they do. I think they appreciate it more now because they lost some of their freedoms over this COVID thing.
Yeah, it's the time that none of us are even experienced at all. It's craziness, but we've noticed that as well. And almost like, it's almost like a fight at points to get kids to lift and condition, and now it's like let's do it because we want to do it. And so I think that the mentality of the athlete today in this area, or in California probably in general, is changing because they've been, you have almost every other state is participating, and so we're kind of on the outside looking in. So I think that appreciation level's risen. So for your guys, we've talked about this offline a little bit, the kind of the experiences that you have with the players and the dynamic of the demographic, I guess, of the school and the makeup of the school. Are you seeing an issue with, kids, not being able to participate because of their particular situation or,
Well, we're in Franklin, it's kind of a neighborhood little school.
Okay.
I mean, you're over in a pocket. Now, we do have kids that come from other areas of Stockton because of our IB program. So if, you're in, say you live over by Stagg, but you go to Franklin for the IB program, that's somebody's going to have to bring you to the school, and we're shut down as far as the school goes. So they have to find a way to get over to the school to practice.
Yeah.
Where in normal situations, they get to school in the morning by bus or family member, and then they just stay after school and practice. So now everybody's, that's the transportation issue. The neighborhood, it's not so bad because, some are within walking distance.
Yeah.
We're getting a pretty good turnout, though. It's the numbers are going up.
Good.
And I think that's, with most of our programs around section, as you get closer to the pads, guys, all of a sudden, they're ready to play. Especially the linemen. The linemen won't get there until they have to. So, but this year's going to be different because we start the season in January. Basketball starts in February. Baseball starts in March. So, if you're a football basketball guy, you're going to kind of have to deal with that.
Yeah.
And it's going to hurt some of the smaller schools. If you're a baseball, basketball guy, it's going to hurt.
Yep.
We end our season, I believe, on the 12th, and our first baseball scrimmage is on the 15th.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be back and forth. Luckily, our field that we're practicing on this year until we shut down because we're getting that stadium.
Yeah.
It's right next to the football field. So I'm going to just, I'll be like standing in the middle, observing both practices. Yeah.
Scissor lift and a bullhorn.
Yeah.
Hey, real quickly, you talked about the IB program, and it's a little bit off topic, but just for clarification for the listeners, and because I was never smart enough to participate in something like that, but just for clarity, it's the International Baccalaureate program.
Yeah.
Is that correct?
I can't even say it. So
Yeah,
that tells you about my.
So those of you that know, but those of you don't, it's an accelerated academic program. I believe there are only 2 in the entire county, and Franklin's been doing this for a long time. They do it really well. It's one of the most respected academic programs, I would say, maybe even in the state. And so they've rolled out a lot of really good. Maybe there's been some student athletes there, but I do know that they've rolled out some really top academic people from that program.
Absolutely.
So, kudos to Franklin for
the
that.
top softball player in the area. She's going to LSU, Sydney Peterson.
Yes.
She's probably going to challenge for the valedictorian in the IB program, along with being a full ride scholarship athlete
There
to
you go.
LSU. And Sydney will be on the podcast at some point. But it's a beast of a project. They're even talking about, when she gets to LSU, school will be much easier.
Yeah.
Than it is now.
Oh, I bet. Yeah. So, hey, you and I grew up on the east side of Stockton, and we know the challenges that are there. We were lucky because we had the support of some great parents and played in the Sandlot days of Eastern Little League and all of that. But here we are in 2020, and a lot of things change over time. But as a coach at a you call it a community, which it is, but it's still a kind of considered a city school, if you will.
Yeah.
Maybe talk about a little bit about the challenges of recruitment of athletes into these programs and the retention of those athletes in these programs. Some challenges as coaches that you guys have that maybe are different than, say, a coach at Escalon or Ripon or something like that.
Yeah. Well, we don't recruit.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, recruit.
I know what
recruit
you mean.
on campus, if you will. Yeah,
So-
we're not. I didn't mean to imply anything like that.
I know what you meant. We have a good with the student body. We have the baseball program. We do have a good turnout for baseball, and kids on campus. If they want to play, we encourage. We have a pretty much a no cut policy on the JV level. If we can field 2 teams, we'll figure it out.
Sure.
If we can field a freshman and a JV.
That's awesome.
But yeah, I'm there. Orientation. We go orientation. I'm there. We have a little table. And we set up, sign up, and a lot of the kids. It's it don't matter if you have experience or not, because at our JV level, our areas, everybody depends on your feeder programs. And if you don't have a good, and I was saying we don't have a good feeder, Eastern Little League is our big feeder program. We have a couple other little leagues, but, it's when the kids come in, they're a little intimidated because they think high school baseball and they hear, the varsity, but we teach fundamentals, and we teach at the varsity. We pretend every year nobody knows anything. They all start out learning how to run the bases, and some guys get bored from it, but they know, it's going to win you ball games. So the young kids, we encourage them. We encourage our athletes to play at least 2 sports because I think it rounds you out better. But yeah, we have a good reputation in the community as far as our sports. We try to encourage kids with no experience to come out.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's difficult, in this time. And like you said, your feeder for you guys is Eastern Little League, and we know Little League suffered, from travel ball now, and so it's a diluted product, so you, and when with that, you lose, experienced coaches and things like that. So we've experienced it too, Lyndon, we're a pretty successful baseball program, but we also struggle with, these new incoming athletes because the intimidation factor, I guess, from the travel ball kids, because they're so advanced. I mean, I'm friends with Denny Peterson, Sid's dad, and, he does a velocity program, and he's got sophomores that are throwing like 84, 85, and it's just like, for kids, they had the ability, the economic ability to do something like that. They had the parents had the freedom and the time to be able to do something like that. And so, I guess that parlays us into, let's talk a little bit about the past, of, your when you guys had success, as younger days, Eddie Gordado's years. I played with Eddie at Delta.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah, with Eric Elias and Chachi Elias and Lorenzo played at a different school. Yeah, but Keith Lopez, Zeke Reyna, all those guys that were Franklin guys that, at one point Franklin's always, in my opinion, and my loose association with following Franklin, but Franklin to me in the area has always had this image of, in terms of athletics, that the baseball program was king there. And like you mentioned, whether it was Coach Brandt or whoever, it seems like Franklin historically, and I'm talking over 30, 40 years, historically has always been a good baseball program.
Yeah. When we were in the 60s, 70s, right around that time, Matt Equinoa became the baseball coach over there, and he ran a good program. And you had less schools, so you had more talent at each school. It was smaller. So we had some really, really good ball players come out of Franklin back in those days. Sid Church. He went on to play at UOP and the Padres. He'll listen to this, so yeah, he's a good buddy.
I saw it. I was there. We actually played you the day you guys inducted Sid.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's
so
right.
we played you guys.
Well, we'd love to hear from him.
Yeah, he'd be glad to come on. He's a great guy. So we, a few years back, and my first time around at Franklin, we tried to get it going, and as far as a Hall of Fame for our athletics.
Awesome.
And you guys have a great athletics Hall of Fame here.
Yeah, they do a great job with it.
Yeah. But we, nobody wanted to really take the bull by the horn. So all I could do was the baseball.
Sure.
So I started that year. That was the first one. And so we started our Hall of Fame for the baseball program. And going back and, I got a couple of guys each year, or last, I think 4 years now. And we get together and we look through and find guys who, made differences, not just played pro ball or college ball, but went on to, like Paul Lavoti out at Tokay, won almost 500 games.
Yeah.
He was a Franklin grad.
Okay.
Mike Singer, obviously Sid. Marion Cavadera, he's another one. He played for the old Washington Senators. He was one of the first, I think the first class that graduated at Franklin.
That's awesome.
We found him.
Wow, that's awesome.
Yeah, and so there's a lot of guys through the baseball program. Obviously, Eddie, over the years that, we're going back and now we're able to recognize them because we didn't have a Hall of Fame. So they didn't get that day, on the field or in the, at a banquet kind of thing. And it's fun. It's good. We contact them now, and you're, now you're under consideration and stuff. And so it's a lot of fun to go back, and now we're able to recognize these guys. And our kids, the younger kids, see it too. And when we get a Sid Church, or we brought in Dallas Braden, guys, he didn't go to Franklin, but we bring these guys in and talk to our kids about dreams.
Yeah.
And 70s, 80s, we had some good athletes. Also in football too, Webb Slaughter, Alfred Gross.
Yeah. I remember the day that you guys inducted Sid, and I think the thing that impressed me the most was your team and their reaction to the induction. I don't know if that was your guys' first year.
That was it. That was first
so
guy.
The kids and how enthralled and how engaged they were with somebody that they had basically no association with, other than they went to high school together, at the same high school.
Yeah.
So I thought it was very impressive. I mean, almost to the point where I was started thinking, well, I think that was my last year coaching until I came back.
Right.
And so, but I thought about, man, if we could, that is one of those things that, you start to give these kids hope, let them understand that, hey, there's opportunities for you that you didn't even know existed.
Right.
And so I thought it was phenomenal, and Sid was so appreciative and just so generous. And I mean, for a guy that...
Well, school forgot about him, I mean, his friends and the people who knew and saw him play didn't forget, but his school forgot about him because for years, like I said, they had we didn't have any way of recognize a Hall of Fame or, so that was important to me when I came back. And it also helps you with your community support too.
Yeah.
Because a lot of the parents or grandparents saw Sid play. And some of these, Eddie Gordado, the guys. Eddie was out 2 years ago. He stopped by a game. We're still friends. His brother Danny and I played together. Yeah. So it's good for the community to go back and recognize the guys from the past, and it's good for the kids going forward because one of these days that might be them.
Exactly. And I'll focus on Eddie Gordado. You get a 14, 15, 16-year-old kid at Franklin High School that, he loves to pitch, and now he can look and say, look, here is an athlete that was in the exact same place that I am now on the exact same field, and went on and correct me if I'm wrong, I think he's also in the Twins Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I'm sure he is.
Yeah,
he's in the front office. He works for them.
Yeah, he's one of the most historically now one of the most notable Twins, and he came from Franklin High School.
Everyday Eddie.
Everyday Eddie. Exactly. It's like when you saw him take the mound, it was like, okay, I guess this game's over. It was like,
he had that going.
Yeah.
Well, our area, everybody is so excited by Aaron, but if you go back, Aaron Judge, and you go back to 20 years, and that was Eddie. ESPN. Eddie was on ESPN. Right. Nearly every day, I mean, I think he pitched in almost 100 games one year. And, I played with Eddie, and I remember, Eddie was very good, but he wasn't way better than everybody, but he outworked every single person.
Yes, hard worker.
The guy was the first on that old cliche or adage about first on the field, last off the field. That was him. I mean, he'd beat us all on the field. And when everything was done, he'd be doing, pole to pole lunges, in the dark, and that was, he had a vision that nobody else saw. Him and Ken Huckabee got drafted the same year.
Yeah. He's working for the Blue Jays system.
He does. He's their catching coordinator for the whole entire system. Yeah. So, Ken's another really good guy. And both of those guys were just tremendous workers. Ken had an unbelievable arm. I mean, that was what got him drafted, and he actually made it to the bigs, and now he's parlayed that into a great career. And his son actually, I think, is a pitcher in the maybe the Diamondbacks or the Rockies organization.
So hopefully we get some of your players to listen to this podcast and realize that, what I'm sure you've been telling them all along is true. There's no reason why you can't aspire to get to that level. There, look at those guys, look at where they're at, what they've done. And, just as Chris was saying, it's, the first to hit the field, the last to come off the field. And knowing you for a long time, I'm sure that's something that you probably preach day in and day out. Yeah. So That's awesome. But hey, I want to switch gears with you for a few minutes. Some exciting news, and I think this is fantastic news for Franklin. Maybe you can kind of enlighten us a little bit on this, but I know you guys are getting new facilities here pretty soon. So maybe tell us about that a little bit.
Yeah, so I believe it was right around 2006-07 when I was at Franklin the first time. The bond issue that went out, there was a vote, and Franklin. So we've been waiting for the sports facilities. Franklin upgraded in the other areas, the school, the classrooms. They used the money first to do that. Sure. As old athletes, we didn't, of
course,
we didn't want the baseball, football field. So we finally are able. They're going to break ground here on the football field shortly in the next week or two.
Awesome.
And that's going to be over on the Fremont Street side, heading out this way.
Softball,
where the softball and the varsity baseball field. That's going to be the football stadium.
Awesome.
And when they're finished with that, somewhere around the first week of April is when it's scheduled. They're going to break ground on our baseball, softball, swimming pool area, which is where the old varsity baseball field used to be
I remember
by the football field. That's where I used to play. That's where I play.
Oh, yeah.
So
I've spent some time on that field.
Yeah. And that'll be done. So hopefully this time next year we have a football and a baseball facility with lights and turf and everything. The football is coming first. We're going to play one more season on the football field we have now. Yeah. Baseball, we're going to have to we're going to stop practicing there when they are ready to break ground on the baseball field. We got to find a lot of road games.
Yeah.
And probably find we're looking at some of the sites to practice at.
You guys should be able to make up with that in the years following. Then everybody's going to want to come.
Everybody. We already got. We got the McClatchy and all these guys. Everybody, Mike out there. These guys. Everybody wants to come play on it. So
but that's super exciting. And me for one, who's I grew up in this area. I can't wait to see new athletic facilities at Franklin. It's long overdue, and I think hopefully that will also. Kind of inspire some more kids to, when they see those facilities, that they want to be part of that. And
facilities and uniforms draw kids.
That's right.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
But it hasn't always been this way. We've gone through times where the budgets have been slashed, and the first thing that suffers in any school budget is probably athletics. And so as coaches like yourself, I know you've worked very diligently to, you have kids that come into the program that maybe can't afford the Rawlings Heart of the Hide glove or things like that. And I know you've gone out and done some of your own fundraising and done some things to provide this equipment for these kids. And I want to hear about that. But before I let you kind of go down that road, I also want to kind of highlight something that happened. It's been a couple of years now.
About 3.
Yeah. So, you had a theft where someone stole your equipment and all that. And so maybe let's talk about that a little bit.
Okay. Yeah. So it was this time. I was about 3 years ago. We had a Saturday game, and so I went over to the school and picked up our gear, and it was in my truck. And somebody came and I think they thought it was a tent in the back of my truck. I think they thought they were stealing a tent. So they got a bunch of old helmets and catcher's gear and stuff. And the gear wasn't on paper. The gear wasn't worth much anymore. But it was worth it to our players.
It's hard to replace.
It's hard to replace it. Yeah.
So it was heartbreaking. I was mad. I was more hurt than mad. My feelings are hurt. Somebody would do that, But the community, I had a buddy right away wanted to donate. I had Bill Long, who's an alumni, a Hall of Famer at our school. He donated.
That's awesome.
Catcher's gear. Heather Brent.
Yep.
She did a thing for the news for us, and a GoFund was started.
Awesome.
And we were able to, we had so much support. We were able to not only get all new equipment and extra equipment, but we was also able to get new uniforms for the players.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So, I got teased at the Booster Club meeting because we had so much money in our account. Everybody's like, you going to do that again? Or?
Yeah.
So
Like a staged event.
Well, with that said, it's awesome to have that, but those are things that happen over a short period of time, and that tends to fade. So let me ask you this: if for people listening, if there was a way to get involved and maybe donate to help, any of the programs at Franklin High School, whether it's football, volleyball, water polo, baseball, whatever, what would be a way that people could contribute to the programs?
if you know me or one of the coaches, you can inquire. You can also inquire with our athletic director. His name's John Bava. And just say, hey, I'd like to donate to, if you want to donate to just sports in general, or you want to donate to a specific sport, feel free to contact us. It's people, you'd be surprised how people, once they realize how easy it is to donate, they could just donate. A check, $20, $100, they could just donate, and it goes to a worthy cause. We don't spend money frivolously at Franklin. Sure. Trust me. Yeah. It's I would say if you know me, or you can, people know you can find me.
Well, we'll
point people in the right direction.
Sure. Yeah, sure. We'll share. We'll get some information. We'll share it on our Twitter and Facebook accounts. But
this segment was brought to you by Herrera Insurance and Financial Services Incorporated, the premier commercial, farm, and life insurance agency in the 209. For all of your personal and business insurance needs, you can locate us at www.hifsinc.com or by phone at 209-649-8863. HISFS is a proud sponsor of the 209 Prep Sports podcast, helping our youth fulfill their academic dreams and endeavors. This segment has been brought to you by Pinelli Passing Academy. Pinelli Passing Academy is the premier quarterback development center in the Central Valley. If you have a son or daughter that strives to play quarterback from Pop Warner to college and beyond, look no further than Pinelli Passing Academy. Greg Pinelli will elevate your quarterback and provide them with elite instruction, as well as teach them all aspects of the position. You can find them at PinelliPassingAcademy.com, Pinelli Passing Academy on Instagram and on Twitter. So moving on to all of this is exciting, and I think it's interesting, but you have a knowledge base that's broader than Franklin, and you kind of have your finger on the pulse of athletics, countywide, mm-hmm. I would say. Why don't we kind of pivot towards some of the guys that kind of have flown under the radar that you get excited about, that maybe people don't. We talked a little bit offline about some of the guys, with their experiences in baseball and where they're at now, type of a thing. I mean, what are some of the names that drop off the page at you?
Some of the older.
New. I mean,
more
recent,
new. Yeah. We have some Ripken Reyes, who went to St. Mary's. He played at Cal. He's playing for the Padres organization. Obviously, Shelby Lackey is another one. Top of my head, I'm trying to think. We have so many. Even just right here, Elk Grove down the road. Sure. Rowdy Tellez plays for the Blue Jays.
Madrigal.
Yeah. So there's
Zach Mathis.
Zach Mathis is a great story. Why don't you
tell us your story about Zach? He was in your league, right?
Yeah, Zach. He was a stud. When I came back over to Franklin, we played him in the summer when I was at Brookside Christian, and he stood out. And then he was a great story. The story there was an article I think in the Sporting News about him, or Sports Illustrated, where he was played at Delta, finished at Delta, and I think LSU's starting third baseman went into the draft, and it opened up a spot. They needed a third baseman, and Zach was recognized by somebody who referred him. And, within weeks, I believe he was the starting third baseman at LSU.
Wow.
And, but the kid worked hard. He turned down that scholarship to UOP, went to Delta and played. And Delta's a great program. So that Yep. Great kid, hard worker. He's another one of those guys, an Eddie Gordado type.
Yep.
His coaches loved him or love him. And, that's a great story. And we share that story too. I shared that article with my players.
Yeah.
That, see, this is what happened. You work hard and somebody recognizes you. And then if there's an opportunity, Zach was able to capitalize on it because his hard work, and people remember guys who work hard.
Yeah,
That's
Zach.
right.
So Zach's one of those kids that he actually was at UOP. He had the scholarship and he transferred after the fall semester.
Yeah,
and so because they wanted him, so Zach is on the front side of all these analytic swings, this launch angle and those types of things. He knew the Tewksbury approach, better than most. I mean, I know some people that have talked about him, and Sprague was the one that actually brought him to UOP. Yeah. And Sprague actually had told people, had Zach been a little bit bigger, that he was a first-round pick because he knew his swing better than almost anybody else.
Oh, you just see him on Instagram. You see that that kid worked hard.
Yeah, phenomenal. And so Zach, a story that a lot of people don't know. So when he was at UOP, he was going and hitting, and Shelby and Aaron Judge were really good friends. Aaron graduated with Shelby's sister, and so Shelby would bring Aaron out to hit in the off season. Well, Aaron in the minors was a gap-to-gap guy, a lot of doubles, runs, pretty good. So he'd have triples, but his home run numbers weren't anything to write home about. Well, he started getting with Zach and working on launch angle, and then, he hired somebody that actually knew, or actually did that for a living. And all of a sudden, Aaron comes in and just starts setting the world on fire, but Zach's a phenomenal story. Guy's not the biggest guy in the world, not the best athlete in the world, but just gets it done.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a strong arm, and I'm a Yankee fan, so I appreciate everything Aaron does for us.
Speaking of that, being a Yankee fan, you actually have a podcast.
Yes, I do.
Right? So maybe tell us about that.
It's on Facebook. You can. It's the Bronx Bomber News and Podcast Facebook page. It was on Stitcher. I think I've taken it off Stitcher for now. But you could follow it. Just go on Facebook and Bronx Bomber News and Podcast. I do articles generally once a week now in the off season. The Yankee season's over, but during the season, a couple times a week. After every series, I do a recap and basically the Yankee news going on.
That's
a lot of fun. Yeah, it's a lot of fun, man. You guys know this is a lot of fun. I love talking baseball.
Yeah.
When we're done here, I can still talk baseball.
So, there you go.
I'll go home tonight talking baseball.
Well,
it drives my wife crazy.
It's in your blood. I mean,
man.
I think we talked about this offline, but going back to Eastern Little League, when I was, I don't want to say a lot younger, but I was a little bit younger than you, and as another player in the league, you were the man back in senior league playing shortstop. I mean, I don't think I ever saw a game that you played in where your uniform was not just totally destroyed from diving for balls. I
loved George Brett, guys like that back in the day. George Brett, Fred Lynn.
Yep.
Those guys. So
exactly.
If I laid out,
all the time,
and that kept me, sports. And having my family together and everything over the years, that was my way of getting out of the neighborhood, of getting through school, because I didn't care about math.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
I didn't care about history. I do now, obviously, but that was a way to get. And a lot of kids, didn't. We had some really great athletes. Still do.
Yeah.
Over on the east side over there. And,
for sure.
But they don't play sports or don't play long enough because their focus or things going on at home that they can't commit. Yeah. And it's too bad because, there's a lot, it's not just Franklin, there's a lot of kids out there that, you would hope that sports keeps them in school, keeps them out of trouble. And, they could be the next Zach Mathis.
Sure.
Kind of thing.
And those are, just like you said, those are universal issues. Those aren't just to any one school, right. but I think the game changers are coaches like yourself that pay attention to that side of things and get involved and are always working with the kids, always talking to them. And, I again, I'm going back to this, but I am just super excited for you to get these new facilities because I think that plays right into what you've been working so hard for already. You've you've taken a team that, your field is, let's face it, it's average. We'll call it that, right? So it's average field.
Being really kind.
Yeah. But you were able to take that and take a Franklin team to the playoffs for the first time in ages. Yeah. And so I'm excited to see what's next. When you get that great facility and you get these kids just chomping at the bit to play in that stadium, boy, it's going to be some exciting times in your future, I think. So
yeah, we just the thing is you don't want anybody else's players. You just want yours. You just want the kids in your neighborhood or your school. I don't want somebody from Linden transferring to Franklin. I mean, I want my own guys to stay home. And I know kids sometimes have options. They see the nice fields, nice facilities at some of the other schools in our district, and they have an opportunity where they can go play at one of those schools. I just want, if you're from our area, our neighborhood, to be proud. I want your parents to be proud, grandparents, because they paid for that with their money.
Sure.
So it's like a crown jewel, I think, when all this is completed for our area out there. We don't have a mall out on the east side, it's a crown jewel, and the parents, grandparents, aunts, uncles, and the kids all will be proud. And I think it will. I think it'll elevate our program. I think it will. And I'm looking forward to that too. But, my job is to prepare them for life. Baseball is life. I use the old Augie Garrido line.
Sure.
Baseball is life. Yeah, Augie Garrido. He's one of my heroes. Him and Billy Martin. Yeah. So that tells you a little bit about me and my coaching.
You're a little hot.
Old school. Sometimes I run a little hot.
But it's nice to see that you've adapted that style to today's era. Otherwise, you may not be coaching anymore.
Yeah, you have to really adapt to that. But basically the that style is kind of, you still run hot. I'm still competitive. I'll cheat at Monopoly.
Yeah.
Now your wife's going to be watching you play.
She knows I try to cheat at Monopoly. Yeah.
We're not trying to keep you too long, and I think we need to bring you back on because we are barely touching on half of the things we really wanted to talk about.
Oh yeah, anytime.
But I think before we leave, in the last, 10 years, I've coached, baseball and football in the area. And, there's not a lot of coaches that, I could say this about, but, your passion for the kids, and your heart's in the right place. And like you said, the pride that you have in coaching, I kind of feel like you and I are kind of like mirror each other a little bit. I don't know that I would necessarily coach any high school sports at another school.
It was something at the time. Kids are kids wherever you go.
Sure. Yeah.
But there's a little bit more pride when you're coaching at your alma mater.
Yep.
And I love that community. I'm from that community, and I'll die in that community, because that's where I grew up. And that's all the memories and the parents and guys like Scott, we grew up right across the street from each other.
Yeah.
And that's what that fuels me.
And you can see it. I see it, on the field. I see it off the field. You go above and beyond. There's some people think it's you walk on the field, you hit a couple of, hit a couple of fungos and scream at the kid for not, staying in front of the ball. And, you guys are doing, I've seen your practices in the beginning of the season. You do a lot of videos on Facebook and things like that.
Yeah.
So to see the maturity.
I'm always growing. I'm always trying to grow. Yeah.
And that was the thing, my point to that is, the maturation of your players. Like, I don't think that we see that at a lot of other schools. And, you should be commended for your whole staff, for the work that you guys put in.
Good guys, good men coaching with me.
Yes, sir. So,
well, you had one of them last year, Jeff Chandru.
Yep.
He's back with me again. So
okay, great.
We stole him from you. That's a guy that I did recruit him.
Yeah. Well, good for you guys. Yeah. Jeff's a great guy, hardworking guy, very knowledgeable. Yeah. But we, again, we thank you for this. All of your knowledge, all of the passion you have for the kids, and we would like to have you on at another point.
Anytime.
Maybe you and Sid both come on at the same time, and we can talk about the old days.
We could probably get him on the phone when he's in town. We could probably arrange something. When he does, he's been a volleyball official in NCAA for like 25 years now.
Jeez.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
When he comes through here, if not, we can get him on the phone maybe.
Yeah, just let us know. So with that, we'll kind of wrap it up. Look forward to talking to somebody. We're not even sure who we're going to talk to next week, but we're kind of fly by the seat of our pants a little bit.
I'm available.
Well, maybe you become a regular. That might be another thing we do. So
Yes, but.
all right. Thank you much. Have a great day, everybody.
Thanks. Great having you.
Thanks.